Hello, everyone. It is the build-up show. Liverpool take on Arsenal Monday night in the Premier League. We're playing Arsenal again, and then we're going to play them again straight afterwards. It's a mad time. Anyway, I'm Paul Machin. Chris Pajak joins me, Ross Chanley, and Emma Sanders as well for this one. And look, Chris, they're coming thick and fast. Another massive game for the Reds. Third game, third game in the Premier League. Another biggie. When we looked at this run of fixtures, it didn't stand out as being something that was going to be particularly enjoyable. But here we are, and as a real opportunity here, I think I don't know whether you want to call it a measure of revenge or whatever. I know we used that in the Community Shields, and it didn't work out for us. But yeah, I think that's a key motivating factor here in this game.
It should be. I mean, look, let's be honest. Arsenal have given us a few little tough games recently, and this squad will want to go out there and prove that they're the better side, and they are the better side. I think they've got the ability to, but they've got players, Arsenal, like we all know, who can hurt a team. I mean, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, we need to stop him first and foremost. And I think if you stop Aubameyang, you do pretty much stop Arsenal. He's their talisman, isn't he? But it's easier saying that than actually going out there and doing it, because from that sort of left corner of the penalty area, he is absolutely lethal. There's no striker better in world football from that area of the pitch. And right now we're probably going to be playing with Trent Alexander-Arnold, who's had a tough time against Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang a few times now, and also probably Fabinho or Gomez maybe, and that'll be an area of the pitch where Arsenal will be looking to get the better of Liverpool. But it's easy to focus on them, but they've got to stop us as well. And I think Liverpool should go out there and really attack this game and just go out and try and dominate from the first to the last.
Yeah, I think actually Chris makes an interesting point there, Emma. When teams will always look to target that area in behind Trent Alexander-Arnold, and regardless who partners Van Dijk, they're always going to be considered the weak link comparatively. Now, it is obviously encouraging. Nico Williams started the Community Shield, didn't have a great game in that one. I mean, I'm not sure how to blame he is for Aubameyang's goal, really, but having Trent in there is a positive thing. Gomez hopefully being fit gives us an option, and again Fabinho, it's another. If it is Fabinho, it's another big challenge for him. But he's a big player. He'll look forward to such a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. They are going to target that space in behind, but that's because Liverpool play high-risk football, and there's always going to be spaces in behind when you play high-risk football. But I think if everything goes the way that Liverpool hope it does, then Liverpool will have the ball. Excuse me. So Arsenal have got to get the ball in order to exploit that space. They managed to do that in the Community Shield, but like you say, it was Nico Williams there. He did struggle against one of the best strikers in the world, as anybody would. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. But I think similar to, I remember we were saying this last week in terms of Chelsea, but it's probably a good time to play Arsenal at the beginning of the season when, they're still not quite had, the time that Klopp has had with Liverpool that Arteta obviously will want to have with Arsenal. So they're still working things out. They're still ironing out creases. So it's a good time to play them. And also Liverpool are in good form at the moment. They've picked up a couple of wins at the start of the season, and they'll want to keep that going. So yeah, I think it'll be fine.
I'm sure, Ross, that Arsenal Fan TV will be sat in wherever it is they sit talking about this and going, good time to play Liverpool, because we saw this with that video, did the rounds of someone talking about from the Chelsea perspective the other week, and I hope Arsenal think that's the case. And I mean, I think they're a different proposition to Chelsea, because I just think, I don't know what it is, I think Chelsea on paper look just so exciting, man. It's because of all the names that have come in. They're all players that we would have had. Arsenal haven't quite done the same thing. But as mentioned, they've got Aubameyang, they've got Lacazette, they've got Saka, and obviously Pepe and all these. They've got good players. I think in Arteta, they've got a better manager than Chelsea as well. So this is going to be, Liverpool are going to need to be at their tactical best for this one. I don't think that we can rely on the same sort of. Chelsea were a bit disjointed, and maybe Lampard was trying to be a bit of a try-hard or whatever. But Arsenal are going to be resolute. They're looking to build their side at a similar image of having a bunch of players on that pitch who really go out, understand the job, and fight for the shirt.
Yeah, I think watching Arsenal the past 6 months, whatever, well, Arteta's been there, you can see he's implemented a system, they're playing out from the back, the players are buying into it, and, on the whole, they're doing really well. They've obviously beaten us twice, so they'll take confidence from that. But the huge thing that's shifted mentality for us as Liverpool fans, and probably teams around the league, is the fact that we've made 2 big signings. So, Arsenal might have earmarked this game, gone, actually, Liverpool got Leeds, Chelsea, a cup game, then they've got us. But we didn't have Thiago, and we didn't have Diego Jota before that, sorry. So, that opens up a whole new possibilities for Liverpool and how we play. Arsenal could have done research on Liverpool at the game that we played them last time. We didn't have Thiago. We're going to have to change the system. Sound. With Mark Thiago at the game. Well, now you've got to worry about Trent. Now you've got to worry about the front three. Liverpool have got a multitude of options to hurt Arsenal this time. I think it'd be interesting how we set up to, like Chris says, to protect Trent and the fullbacks from the speed that they've got on their wings. Do you put a Gini Wijnaldum in there or Jordan Henderson if he's fit, to try and cover for and protect him a little bit more? That's what Liverpool should look to do. And like I said, Chris said, you take Aubameyang out of that game, the thing you sound. But Liverpool have won both the games in the Premier League this season. Like, going into that, I was like, oh fucking hell, they're really tough games. Fabinho's shown that he's, if you got to deal with Aubameyang, you dealt with Timo Werner. Timo Werner's not slow. I had him in his pocket for 90 minutes. So, even Fabinho's going to go to that game and go sound. Another challenge for me, and he'll relish it.
Yeah, Emma?
Yeah, it's interesting that Ross said about what we can do to kind of protect Trent and protect that space. Whereas I would argue that if Liverpool play the way that we have played successfully, and you play on the front foot and you press high and you get hold of the ball and you play with that high line, then if Liverpool do that successfully and, like you say, be really switched on tactically, then I don't think Klopp will even worry about Arsenal's threats, because Liverpool have showed time and time again that if they can pull off what they're good at, then they don't need to worry about Aubameyang.
Mm-hmm. I think for me the interesting thing here is how the Liverpool set up. Now, I think the obvious thing to say is to go the 4-3-3, but to be honest, I think Arsenal have had really good success with that 4-3-3 against us. When we've changed it to the 4-2-3-1, I thought we looked better in the Community Shield, and the Liverpool do that. I mean, normally, and this is why it's quite surprising, ordinarily when a team plays 3 at the back, Liverpool exploit that massively with our 4-3-3, but we've not actually, I don't think we've actually been able to do that so well against this Arsenal 3-4-3 that they've been playing against us. And that I don't know whether I'm throwing the baby out with the bathwater here, and I don't think Jurgen will do this from the off, because I think he has too much trust, and rightfully so, by the way, in the 4-3-3 system that we've won the league with and won a European Cup with and won a World Championship with. But I do think it's a talking point, and where does Thiago start in this game? Do we try and dominate possession with that and pin them back? Does that play into Arsenal's hands? Is that gonna open that ball up to Aubameyang over the top or whatever? But the way that Thiago comes in at the weekend and dominates the ball, nothing seems to be able to get past him before we restart. I'd personally go with the 4-3-3. Put Arsenal under loads and loads of pressure, and let's see if they can step up defensively to the task.
The thing that's tell about the Aubameyang stuff and why I think he's resistant to what Liverpool do to some extent is that often the teams have got a style of play, Chris. You blow that out the water by Liverpool being brave, by us pushing our full-backs up, and it means that they are forced to focus a lot on what we do. It takes it away. Whereas Aubameyang, they just play him high and wide. He's not asked. Like, we'll throw loads of men forward, and they're like, okay, well, I'll just stay here and wait on the counter attack. He is a very difficult man to take out of the game, unless you maybe, again, either you blow them away or you maybe have a little bit more thought towards them than you would most other players.
Yeah, and look, we've got our own one of those players in Mo Salah. It's almost a carbon copy. Doesn't have to do the tracking back that Firmino and Mane do necessarily. Now we see teams commit 2 players, 3 players to Mo Salah. Liverpool don't do that with Aubameyang, and I don't think they should either, to be honest, because I think, as you mentioned, Nico's the one that plays in the Community Shield. I think if Trent comes in there and you've got Joe Gomez alongside him, you've got trust in those 2 players to be able to deal with Aubameyang. And, I think that if you're focusing on their forward with 2 or 3 players, that takes away from what we can bring offensively. Yeah. And I don't think we need to do that against Arsenal at the moment. Yeah. Look, they played... and obviously had an extra day's rest, I think, going into this, but a couple of those lads from the back line both played at the weekend in their win against West Ham and in the cup game against Leicester, and that's Kolasinac and Rob Holding. Now, madly. Like David Luiz plays in the League Cup the other night, but Gabriel was in the league side against West Ham. So I fancy Liverpool's chances against any back three that includes Kolasinac and Rob Holding. I just do. I just don't rate them as players really that are really good. Hector Bellerin started in the league in the right wing back position. Saka in the left wing back position. I think it was Granit Xhaka and Danny Ceballos who started in the middle of the park. That's not a defensive midfield that scares me. It's literally just Aubameyang, Lacazette and Willian are the players, or Pepe if he starts, the players to watch out for. Yes, they deserve thought around that front three and deserve to think about how we're going to do it, but go and blow them away where their weakness is, and that's what Liverpool need to do for me.
I think Chris. Sorry, I was just going to say I think Chris has summed it up really well, because if man for man, Liverpool are better than Arsenal. So if Liverpool play to their strengths, then that should blow Arsenal away. So, I just think if you go into every game trying to nullify the opposition's threats, then you're taking away what you've done so well in your team. I just don't think there's any reason for Liverpool to change the way they play.
No, and I don't. I agree. I don't think Liverpool necessarily will. But the point that's where Arteta is right now is where, and we said this heading into the Community Shield, Ross. He's looking to build the side up now. Liverpool at the pinnacle. His job is to give Liverpool a bloody nose. His job is to use us as, to be instructive and say, well, this is look what we can do against Liverpool. We can use that to build. His job is to drag us down to their level. And that sounds, people take my meaning on that. It's not like Arsenal or Burnley, but when we used to talk about that, we were nowhere near good enough to match Man City, but we could on a one-off game. We could, and that's what Arteta's whole game plan will be around, is man for man. They can't go toe to toe with us, but he will have his game plan will be engineered to try and do similar things and cause us similar kind of problems. And my concern with this game, Ross, is the motivational factor last season, having lost the Community Shield to Man City, meant that when we take on Man City at Anfield, we are ready for them and the whole ground's ready for them. We just don't have that impetus this time around in the same way. This is the first time where I think we're really truly going to miss Anfield in the way that it could be, because this is an extra 10-20% that a crowd could add to this, where you go, okay, well, you think you're ready, you think you beat us in the Community Shield, you think you've got this game, well, hang on, listen to what else we bring. This is the first time I've really been asked. I tell her, you know what I mean on that. Yeah. I'm devastated I'm not there, because I would be there at every game. I'd watch Liverpool train if I could. But, I think this is the first time where I think it will be truly missed.
Yeah, the crowd obviously makes a difference, and we know that. But also the record at Anfield is phenomenal. I think it's the sign of the times where, you're talking about Arsenal trying to give us a bloody nose. That's just where we're at. Our point at Anfield is not a bad result. And particularly for Arsenal and the way they're at, every team will come away from Anfield with a point. Now we'll be relatively happy. No one's expecting Arsenal to win, but I think what they want from his players is the fact that they've got the confidence and encouragement to do what he asks of them, and that will be to hurt Liverpool as much as possible and not to shy away from a task. And I'm sure it's pretty daunting, as we mentioned, the players that we've got and how we set up. It's about Arsenal players adapting to what Liverpool throw in front of them and how Liverpool set up. Like Chris says, Arsenal need to be in-game management of first 5, 10, 15 minutes, shit like Liverpool 4-2-3-1, Liverpool 4-3-3, how to be counted. It's about them learning still, which is fine for them. I'm not saying that they're not going to turn up and say just don't get battered, because that'll be stupid. But it's about, like I said, game management, and then them implementing that to get something out of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, we're going to be talking about the personnel that Liverpool got available, what we think they're going to do in order to get the points against Arsenal at the moment. But first, we've got some wonderful merchandise available over on the Redmen shop, some brand new stuff to celebrate, new signings, past successes, and everything in between. Here's a little look. There we go. Yes, some fantastic stuff on there. And we also have a brand new Thiago Alcantara t-shirt as well, which you can have a little check out of. But yeah, great stuff on there. Mugs, t-shirts galore. Go and fill your boots. Yes, let's talk about him then. Talk about Thiago Alcantara, Ross Chanley.
Yes.
We've bought a brilliant player. We got a fantastic 45-minute cameo-ish, performance from him last time out against Chelsea. Massive different kettle of fish for this game, of course, but it makes you think that him not being involved in the Lincoln game does lean towards Liverpool are going to be doing everything in their power to get him to start against Arsenal, you would imagine.
Yeah, 100%. And that 45-minute cameo, I want that again for the rest of the season in every game. That's my expectancy levels of Thiago. But as I mentioned before, it's just
to only play 45 minutes every game.
You could probably take the rest of it off if he plays like that again, to be honest with you. Stay in the middle of the fucking park and just watch the ball go around him. But again, it's another problem for Arsenal. Like I said before, they might have coined onto the fact that Liverpool attack with the fullbacks. That's fine. But I said to Chris after that Chelsea game, you have to put someone on Thiago to take him out. Well, fine. That creates more space for the front three. Creates more for the midfielders, for the fullbacks. He's a joy to watch. And the fact he's just happy to sling balls left, right, and centre around the park is absolutely phenomenal for me. I think a lot of it might depend on a centre-back pairing. If Joe Gomez does play, which I don't think he will, you got Fabinho as an option who's up to speed. He's played more football for Liverpool. He played 45 minutes in the cup game. I think he might go in central midfield. But if we play 4-2-3-1, you could have Thiago and you could have Fabinho. It's, the options are endless. But if I had the choice, Thiago starts.
We don't really have enough data there on how Thiago's going to play for us, do we, Chris? And it means there's a plethora of opportunities there, and it does. I think Ross is right. It might well link into our centre back issue because Fabinho plays in the big games. He plays against the top teams, and he's a difference maker in those games. Think about the Manchester City game I referred to before last season. He grabs that game by the scruff of the neck, gets the scoring underway, and we dominate the midfield and we dominate Man City. I think we'll want Fabinho in the middle of the park, but we just might not have the choice to do that. So yeah, we don't quite know, because if we've got Fabinho, let's say Gomez is fit and he's going to put him in. Do you start Fabinho at DM, and then do you maybe use Thiago as one of the three? Do you switch to a two-man midfield and have him in there alongside him? It's all speculation at this point.
Yeah. Personally, and I don't think this is what Klopp will do. Personally, I'd put Fabinho on the right-hand side of a two, and let him help out with Joe and Trent. Because I think he's absolutely superb at that type of thing, and then you are thinking a little bit about Aubameyang. You let Thiago dictate the play, and you put someone behind Xhaka and probably Ceballos or something like that makes them think about what they've got to do. And I think what you're doing there, if you are to play the 4-2-3-1, what you're saying is we're going to put four lads up front against your three defenders. What are you going to do about that? And then you're just asking the question of Arsenal, and you're flipping it on its head, basically. And you're taking what is probably quite an attacking 3-4-3, and you're making it by your formation a 5-2-3 or something. You know what I mean? That would be right, wouldn't it? Yeah, you're dropping the two wing backs to make it a 5 and then a 2 and then a 3. So yeah, that's what I would do. And then I think that would be very, very difficult for Arsenal to do. Equally, if you're playing Fabinho as the right of the centre halves, play Thiago in the middle of the park and watch Granit Xhaka pick up yellow cards throughout the game, because it's what he'd do. Like I think he'd fly in early, pick up a yellow card, and probably end up with a sending off or something, trying to close down Thiago.
The note of caution on Thiago, Emma, because look, I'm all in on getting carried away with Thiago because he's just great. But that Chelsea performance, I don't think necessarily I'm trying to think how to best to phrase this. We were playing against a 10-man Chelsea side who weren't playing particularly expansive football anyway, so we could afford to have Thiago be the anchor man, and we could afford to just box them in and what have you. Arsenal are going to provide more of a threat than that, and so and also it goes back to Klopp's talking about Thiago and the style of football he's been playing at Bayern Munich. He's been playing in a two-man midfield, and I just wonder whether you know, if Henderson's fit is another contributing factor to this as well. I don't know that Thiago necessarily starts this, and I don't know that we might have to facilitate a slight change of formation if he's not, just to make sure that we do get the best of Thiago, because we did see actually the little couple of opportunities when he was asked to go back the other way. That was where there was a couple of little wobbles, least of all giving away the penalty.
Yeah, I mean, he'd only had a few days, obviously, with the squad coming in and training. I think, what was it, the one full training session he had with them, and then obviously he played the 45 minutes. So he's obviously had a lot more time with them now. I think the fact that he didn't play last night, he's definitely starting for me. And I don't really care where he plays. Put him in goal. Just put him in the starting 11. I just want to watch him play football. I just think he's amazing. Get him in. I'm with Chris. I think I would actually really like to see him as part of the two-man midfield, because I think, you know, having Fabinho sitting in front of the centre-backs, as Chris says, I think is a really nice idea to kind of deal with that space in behind. And Fabinho does that quite naturally. He does drop into the space when Trent moves forward. We've seen him do that lots. And obviously, you know, as Ross said, he's got more game in his legs, and he's kind of in that defensive mindset. That's kind of how he started the season, in the sense that he's kind of had to consciously think about his positioning in that kind of back four. So I think just having him sit in front of those, and then, you know, subconsciously drop in and out of the spaces where needs be, is probably the best thing for Liverpool. And I can't see why Klopp won't want to use Thiago, to be honest, because, you know, we're talking about the kind of the intricacies of the way that Liverpool are going to hurt Arsenal, and I think that midfield battle is where I've always said Arsenal have been weakest, like, for years now. I think that is absolutely where they're weakest, is they just get dominated in midfield. And I just think that battle that Chris said, Thiago against Granit Xhaka, is just, for me, it's an absolute no-brainer. I just think he'll take the piss out of him, so get him on.
I don't buy into this Thiago can't tackle stuff, to be honest, and I think I've seen a lot of it, of
Rubbish.
people on radios and Twitter talk about it. It's a load of shit. It's people who watched 45 minutes of Thiago. If you've watched him for any time over the last 5-6 years, he's a good tackler, a very good tackler. And look, a bad 45 minutes in the tackling department, yeah, some people think he's not. He is not a bad tackler. I'll put my neck out on that right now, mate.
Yeah, no, I mean, the point is more that he's not, again, for a player who's not up to speed with exactly how Liverpool play, there's an element of risk in having him be the number 6 in a three-man midfield is more the point than anything else, when, as I say, Fabinho is your main man in that regard. The question then is really, let's kind of hypothesize this out, and Ross, I'll come to you first on this if you don't mind. Fabinho's fit, Henderson's fit, Gomez is fit. Everyone's fit, apart from, like, the obvious, like, let's Oxlade-Chamberlain for the sake of arguments. What do you do? What do you do?
Personally, I would still keep Fabinho centre back. I think the fact that Joe Gomez didn't play a minute in the Carabao Cup game says don't chuck him into this Arsenal game with their attacking threats. I think it's risky, to be honest with you. As he played, you know, half an hour, 45 minutes, got some game speed, some match fitness. I think you could argue the case for him. But as we've all said, Fabinho's played centre half, and you've got loads of options in midfield. Why wouldn't you use them? You've also got a Carabao Cup game 3 days later on the Thursday against Arsenal. Put Joe Gomez in there for me. Midfield, Thiago starts. I'd like to see Thiago, Henderson and Naby Keita. To be perfectly honest, if you're going to go 4-2-3-1, Hendo can play slightly deeper. He can protect the flanks. You still get the press. You can still get further forward and help Naby Keita. But Naby's the person Chris was talking about before. If you're going to chuck 4 people up front, someone's going to break the line, someone's going to take on a man, do a couple of step overs and thread through balls through, as well as Thiago and the fullbacks doing it. I think it's Naby Keita for me.
So go Emma, go on. Everyone's fit. Ross didn't quite play the game there. Everyone's fully fit and available. So Joe Gomez is there no issues about whether what he has or hasn't played. This is maybe it's a wider conversation I'm kind of driving at here. It's the unknowns about how Klopp is prepared to use Thiago, which is a question mark in this. But at the moment, look, we've not even mentioned Gini Wijnaldum. You know, someone, in fact, more than one lad is probably going to be very, very disappointed to not be involved in this game.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but then I also think the reason why we've got the squad depth now in midfield is so that we can play essentially with a different we could play with the different free midfielders in every game, and I do think that that's an area. And Klopp has rotated that quite a lot. Yeah, we've had the same kind of core group of players, but that's kind of the area where certainly when I look at the Liverpool lineup each time, I kind of straight away look at who's in midfield, because it's kind of that's the one where you can't pin it down every single week. And I do think with Thiago coming in, I don't think the players that are left out for the game against Arsenal will be too disheartened, because they'll know that they will be playing the week after, because that's the way that the Klopp has kind of done this, is that players will come in and out, and I think that's kind of the whole point of adding that squad depth. So yeah, I think if Jordan Henderson doesn't play against Arsenal, then I don't think he's going to be too disappointed, because I'm 95% sure that he would be playing, the following week.
All of this said, then Chris, Fabinho, Henderson, Wijnaldum starting midfield three.
No, look, I think for me, it's down to Jordan Henderson's fitness, and I would guess, right, that if I'm like Ross, I think Fabinho probably starts in this game at centre half. I actually think it will be the same side that started against Chelsea, so it will be Henderson, Naby Keita, and Gini Wijnaldum, but for Henderson. And if Henderson doesn't play, I think Thiago slots in there. That's what I guess Klopp's going to do, to be honest.
Interesting. Yeah, well, let us know your thoughts on that in the comments. The centre-backs is obviously going to be a bit of an issue as well. Ross, any more thoughts?
Just on the midfield stuff, Gini was the dead interesting one. I think there's loads of stats that came out post the Chelsea game. I think Sam Maguire put a few graphics out and stuff like that. His role was much further forward than he normally is. A bit mirrored to kind of what he does for Holland. I thought it was really interesting, the fact that we're now using him. If he's got Thiago behind him, or he's got Thiago Fabinho behind him, we have the option to use Gini Wijnaldum like that to support the front three and to get forward and cause issues. So,
it's interesting. Actually, it's a good point. It's a good point worth having, actually, because Naby Keita's been playing more and more on that side, and we know he's a more offensive player. We're asking Gini Wijnaldum, who we would consider to be not quite that in how we normally use him, to do that. Xherdan Shaqiri played that position against Lincoln, and it might be a tactical shift in preparation for Thiago, just going, well, we're going to push an extra body up in support of what we do. And Thiago's job is there just to feed them and get them to turn a three, an attacking three into an attacking four. So you're right, Ross. It doesn't help us pick the midfield three any. It actually makes it slightly more complex in some regards.
But it's more difficult. It's more difficult for Arsenal, because they got prepared for 15 different situations of how Liverpool might set up. And like Emma says, even when that midfield three is picked, how are they setting up? You still got to work all that out.
Absolutely. Okay, well, let's have some score predictions from the panel then. Emma, what do you think it's going to be?
I reckon 3-1 to Liverpool.
Okay, Chrissy?
I like Emma's prediction. I'm going to copy her. 3-1 Liverpool.
Copycat.
Sorry, mate.
Ross Chanley?
4-0.
Go ahead. I'll take a 2-1 to Liverpool. I'll take any win to Liverpool at this point. Just grind some wins out, mighty Reds, and keep the machine and the cogs turning. Let us know what you would like to see from Liverpool's starting 11 and bench midfield three, or 4-2-3-1. How would you best use Thiago, or would you keep him on the bench to just add something else, a different attacking verve or whatever, for half an hour left at the end of the game? Whatever, it's entirely up to you. That's what comments are all about. Score predictions as well. Do drop a like on the video, and look, if you want more content from us, there's a ton of different ways in which you can support the channel. You can become a member on YouTube, which gives you access to custom emotes and emojis, discounted merch, and for Club Captain and Club Legend tiers, you can get an extra bonus show, which is the Final Word Show, which will be the final word show to this game Tuesday afternoon. That will be available to you. And if you want more beyond that, whether you like podcasts and videos and everything else, go and sign up to the redmentv.com. Thank you very much, guys. We look forward to it. We'll, of course, be live with the Fan Zone commentary, but ahead of the game, we'll see you there. Ta-ra.